Well, good evening. I believe it's like the 27th of December, a couple days after Christmas, 2023. We are beyond the 6-year mark since our infant children were separated from their siblings by Aubrey Havocost of DHS, Dallas, Oregon, and put into a separate home where they had no chance of protecting their culture or their language, which is the Aka language. That's in another country, across the ocean. You got to have a passport. It helps if you learn some other languages and you go and you see how some things are done in other countries. It's not quite so centric as the corrupt place that the United States has become at all levels of government. And so those children were separated out. So Aubrey Havocost separated the little kids out. And I told her, I said, look, you're separating them out so that you can adopt them, because at 1.5 and 3.5 years old, they're this great little package of two little wonderful kids. And you don't care about the trauma they go through by being separated from their older sister and brothers who speak their language and who they're familiar with. She had no problem with that. And hopefully it'll come to her in life that you can do things on the sly and you can do underhanded evil things to people, to children, to families, just because you're some kind of deadbeat government worker. And it's still, you have to live with it. It still catches up with you, okay? I don't think there's any free lunch. And so I get like an hour a week. My wife gets an hour and a half a week, Wednesdays, with our little girl and little boy, who are now 7 and 9 years old, respectively. And so I, check to see if, because a lot of times the visits get canceled or something goes on. So I sort of check. Okay. Well, they're a set time, 1:30 on Wednesdays is when they start at the DHS office in Dallas, Oregon, where I've been going to see them religiously for 6 years. I hate missing a visit. They're great little kids, right? And so I check in because I have to take the day off every Wednesday, and I have to drive, okay? So before Wednesday, I check in that, nobody's sick, whatever's going on. And so Steve Walls, the attorney for the little children, started this thing a long time ago about, well, the kids don't have to go to the visit if they don't want to. It's up to them to choose. Well, sociology, from a psychological sociology perspective, it's known to be very harmful to allow children to make that decision, because it puts them in a crossfire. It makes them have to do a lot of process that's not appropriate. Just like you don't say to kids, who do you like more, your dad or your mom? You don't say, we're going to leave it up to you whether you go to school this morning. So Steve Walls started that kind of thinking, and back quite some time ago, more than a year ago, he started talking about things like that. And so Appa would miss visits with her mom, okay? And that was hurtful. Well, I check in about my Wednesday visit, for an hour, and there's this new woman at DHS in Dallas, says that she's a supervisor, Lorelle Gould. That's gold, like, not gold, Gould. And so the information that I got back was, we won't know till late Wednesday morning if the kids want to go to the visit or not. Okay, so you're supposed to set, you have a schedule set, and you're supposed to arrange things so that you can get there. And you might be somewhere where you've got to drive. And so you have to take the day off. And then you have to drive. You might have to drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get there. But they're going to play games with this. Lorelle's going to play games with this. Well, we can't tell you to the last minute whether you need to, whether we're having the visit or not. You know, we have to check with the kids, right? It's bullshit, Lorelle. It's bullshit. It's typical of what you women down there at DHS, the kind of shit you pull, okay? So you have to try to cope with that kind of nonsense. You know, are you stupid or what? That's what I got to ask you. Are you stupid? Do you have any, like, perspective on the optics of how you have done this whole thing and worked so hard to alienate the children? All right? The children that have grown up, let me tell you, the children that have grown up despise you. They despise DHS and everything that has to do with it. All right? And just wait till Appa and Alum grow up and know. I've got all your names, you know, who the trashy hoes were that did all these stunts over the years. I got it all written down, right? And these videos are because you like to do stuff in darkness. You like to keep it secret. You don't like people out in the public to know what you're doing to individual families. The minutia of the sadistic little crap you pull day after day. Always some little crap, all right? It's just amazing, you know? It's like, you know, where do they find you people? Like pumping the sewers? Where do they find you? So you wonder, you know, what do they expect? What do they expect people to think? Now, when I do these videos, it's so you get an idea, you know, of what's going on. You know, there's an article, it's in the Oregonian the other day. I think I took a picture of it because it was pretty impressive, you know. Let's see, it says the date, December 23rd, 2023, $40 million settlement reached against state over foster children abuse. That civil rights suit alleging that negligence and deliberate indifference by the Department of Human Services allowed children to be abused. Okay? Well, it's like, what about that, you know, that little boy down in Springfield, cooked in a room at 114 degrees, and then the allegation that there was a little Hispanic girl that went on life support and later died that was also in that room, that went into a coma, that got covered up. Okay, that's in my other video, all right? So it's like $40 million is just the cost of doing business. It's a hundreds of millions budget for DHS child welfare in Oregon. So they got, like every few years, they got to get slapped around and pay out 20, 35 million, 40 million. Okay, it's considered the price of doing business. So my older daughter wrestles Dallas High School. And turns out that Alum, the little boy, he enjoys wrestling. He started taking wrestling classes, coaching or whatever. And they go to Central and wrestle. These young kids, you know. And so the older daughter and him get talking about, yeah, it's cool, you know, wrestling, and he knows his moves and everything, you know, he's getting on it. And he's got this older sister that's really good at wrestling, and she's real excited that he's into it now. And so she says, well, I'll come and see you Wednesday when you wrestle, right? So they go, oh, no. You got to get permission from the caseworker to do that, you know, because you have to respect the foster family's privacy, you know, and it's like, oh, yeah, you don't have to respect their language or their culture, but you have to respect the foster family's privacy, right? They says, oh, you can't just spend time with your siblings. So becomes a civil rights issue. So their 4 older siblings have wanted to visit them at the foster home years ago, and the caseworker and Carissa Vela and Aaron Vela and Steve Walls, they cut it all off and said no, because the older kids might tell Matthew what goes on, and we don't want that. Well, if they're not doing anything illegal, who cares? I don't care, right? They're treating the kids right, and they're happy, and considering the circumstances, and there might be some identification of cultural conflict. For instance, in our family, we got a refrigerator, and the kids can go eat what they want as long as it's not ice cream. There's limits on that. Go eat what they want and be respectful. And if there's only a little bit left, ask other people, have you had some of this apple pie or this stew or whatever it is? Or, oh, did you drink the last drop of milk and you didn't bother to help get any more? Or, whatever, those kind of things. But otherwise, maybe they're not hungry now and they want to run outside and play or something. Well, they'll come in later. Believe me, they'll eat. When they're hungry, they'll eat. So it looked for a long time that like Alum was underfed. But we heard that it was, you got to scrub your plate or you don't get to go play. All right. Well, boys are different. Maybe they don't want to clean their plate. Maybe they're not interested. Maybe they're already thinking, maybe everything except their body is already outside playing, right? So we don't do it that way, And so anyway, they said, they might tell. So they cut off the relationship between the 2 little kids, Apa and Alum, and their older siblings. All right? They did that early on, all right? So basically, we're going to isolate these 2 kids. They're going to have very limited contact with the siblings. Lorelle Gould, this is for you. Show me what effort your office and all you deadbeat hoes have made to make sure that it's possible for the siblings to spend more time than an hour a week with Apa and Alum. Come on, show me. Okay? You hoe-ass bitch. Okay, so he says, the reason you don't want them wrestling or the girl going to see the wrestling is because Matthew makes YouTube videos. Well, what the frick do you expect? I'm going to talk about what you jackasses do nonstop, right? You think this is going away? You think that there aren't a lot of families that are going to learn to talk about the mean, nasty little bitch things you do? Okay? They're going to talk. What do you expect? So clean up your damn act, all right? So, he will talk about the Vela family. Well, excuse me. Here these kids, under the rules, are put in a foster home, whether it was just or not just, okay? You cover up all the exculpatory information that's supposed to be released under the Brady Act. You get a judge like Judge Hill to play the game. He doesn't want to know. We know about a lot of stuff that happened that he doesn't want to know about. He didn't let come out in court because he's corrupt, okay? So instead of the children going to a foster home until they return home, which remember, reunification was a plan, but DHS never made effort or interest to reunify. They would constantly, and this is what I hear from all the other mothers and fathers, they constantly say, do this, your kids will go home. Nope. Do this, your kids will go home. Nope. Do this, your kids will go home. Nope. Oh, too much time has gone by, so let's TPR the kids and adopt them out. Well, it was very well known from the very beginning that the 2 little ones were separated for adoption because they were a package, and that Carissa Vela wanted to adopt them. She was not interested that these kids go back to their siblings, their mother and their father. She was not interested. Now, Lorelle Gould says, oh, Matthew says stuff about the Vela family. Well, tell me if it's not true. Tell me, is it not true that Carissa was never interested in the children going home. So she does this little video about being a good Christian foster mom. But it's not about being a good Christian foster mom. It's about being a good Christian woman trying to adopt someone's kids from the get-go and being told by DHS that it'll probably happen. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm just talking about something that's happened. All right? So Lorelle, you tell me if I'm wrong. All right? I'm telling you what the record shows. The counselor says she's more interested about Apia, the little girl, as far as her own needs, as far as going back to the family. Okay? So you show me one evidence that she has interest in the kids going home to the family. Okay? So when in 6 years, you never had soul enough to offer to make sure, not just offer, but to make sure that the parents had special holidays with their kids. Now, is that stupid or just selfish or both? Lorelle, tell me. 6 years, more than 6 years, no holiday with their siblings or their mom and dad. So this Christmas went by, Monday? Christmas went by again. The kids didn't get Christmas with their mom and dad or their siblings. So the message is always nothing for the mom and dad or the siblings. Every holiday gets consumed by the Vellas. So you people at Monmouth Christian Church, you tell me, is that cool? Is that the gospel you preach? Is that the Jesus you preach? That you would never share a holiday with parents and then pretend that you want those kids to go home? Of course not. You don't want those kids to go home. You want to adopt them. Steve Walls, DHS, they said that we're just running this thing. Don't worry, it may take some time, but we're going to get there. You're going to get to adopt these kids, okay? So why are you surprised that I talk about it? You're dirty. Now, I'm not like smashing on the Vellas. I'm just pointing out a fact. DHS is dirty because they set this whole thing up. They set this whole thing in play. They tell, well, if we can be generous and say they tell the Vellas what they want them to know, but I'm not so convinced that's the case. In their heart of hearts, they think about, well, maybe this is a little bit off, okay? But even so, if you were set up by DHS, you'd say, well, shouldn't they get we alternate Christmases with them? I mean, so if you don't think to do that ever, and maybe you're not intentionally trying to alienate the children, but then after a while you'd have to say, well, this sure looks like I'm playing along with DHS and I'm intentionally trying to alienate the children from their parents, their siblings, their family, okay? That's what this is about. Remember all those good family, those Christian good family values you all talk about? And all those Hispanic kids that they separated at the border from their families. I mean, that's an incredible criminal act. We're not okay with that. We're not Mexican, but we're still not okay with it. Okay? We don't care who it's involves. We're not okay with people separating children from their families. Now, back when I was in Thailand, the Christian missionaries from America would pay headhunters to gather children out of villages. They'd bring them down to town and start an orphanage, and they would tell the churches back in America that God had blessed them with a whole bunch of orphans they needed to take care of. What a wonderful opportunity. Please donate. And they would build these majestic compounds, incredible top-rate construction and four-wheel drives and servants and all that stuff. They would have all this stuff that they got from the money, and they came out and would actually say, and of course they weren't orphans, and the parents didn't know this scam was going on, okay? And the donors didn't know the children had parents, and they would be making thousands of dollars a month, where the working wage might be $2 a day, $1.50 a day. The missionaries were making thousands of dollars a month off kids that they were taking away and telling the churches in America that those kids were orphans, all right? That went on, okay? It's dirty. So Lorelle Gould expects me not to talk to what DHS has done for so many years to our family, to our children. My son's 9.5, so it's only going to be a few years, man. And he knows that good things are waiting for him. There's light maybe at the end of the tunnel. And they're going to know. And I got all these names. Maybe he'll send you, all you bitches, a postcard when he gets out of your dungeon, when he finds out how hard we fought to have them come home and how hard you and Steve Walls and the judge and the Vellas worked to keep that from happening, okay? So the idea was that the older sister couldn't visit her siblings at a public event because Matthew talks about what's going on. So it's proof that you're dirty because you don't want the least bit of connection between the family and the two little kids, right? And what I was told was that Lorelle said that the only way the siblings can visit their little brother and sister is at these set times, an hour at the office on Wednesday and an hour and a half out at the farm. And they work, they're grown up, they work and they go to school, so they need time that's flexible to see their brother and sister, right? Who knows how much it has to be, but there's never been any effort by DHS. I mean, the oldest brother wanted to take alum fishing, do different stuff. I was supposed to get community visits. Where are those, Lorelle? Where are the community visits? Go get something to eat at a Thai restaurant, go over to Walmart, go to McDonald's, do something. Where's the community visits? Oh, you're short-handed on the staff. You're ripping off too much money from the government, and so you're short-handed with the staff. You can't afford a parent a community visit because they don't count. You hoe-ass bitch. Okay? That's the kind of trash you people are. You always have an excuse, and you don't even get the optics of what you're doing and the accumulation of it year after year after year. Well, I'm sure that it won't always go, as smoothly as you think, because you get caught in your own lies, and people do things that show that they perjured themselves in court. And you use those perjuries to take away people's children. And that eventually, that comes out, So anyway, that's my video update. These trashy DHS workers. Now, they're occasionally, some of the workers, I won't mention names, but they seem to have some integrity, okay? And that integrity is appreciated. But I'm thinking of the Vellas, okay? And they bought into this game. They bought into this fiasco. And I don't know if Aaron Vella says to Carissa, you shouldn't want to adopt that little girl. I understand that you do, that it would be normal to. She's precious. I mean, I went to the visit today and my daughter was just bubbling all over the place, wanted to see my hat and it was just joking and laughing and doing some kind of like break dance on the floor. I mean, she was having all this fun, and Alum was happy, and they were all happy. And I want those kids. All right. Who wouldn't? But you say, you can't really. Okay. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's children. Okay. So maybe he would say to her, they're really correct. All right. But anyway, it's just like if you saw the optics of it and you said, you shouldn't want other people's children. You should do your best. We prayed that our kids come home. We have other people prayed that our kids come home. We hope that our kids come home. We hope they grow up safe. We want the best for them. We want them to learn their language. We want them to listen to their people's music. We want them to go around and hobnob with their brothers and sisters that go do all these different things, they got a horse, they got a farm, they got all kinds of stuff, all right? And we want them to enjoy that, right? So they can live in a little house, or they can choose from 3 houses that their siblings own, and a 12-acre farm. That's their inheritance. That's what they're growing up into. They got 3 ATVs, the little ATVs, Sarah Scott, that hoe-ass bitch. I mean, God, why did it take you so long to get a divorce from that lady, dude? They're great little machines for little kids, right? They've been there for going on 2 years, and Sarah Scott stood there and made sure that those 2 little kids never got to ride them. I hope your daughter at Monmouth finds out about that. I hope your grandkids find out that that's what you did to other people's little children. You didn't even wait for Christmas to be a Scrooge. You were born a Scrooge, you old bag. All right, so I think these videos are fun and funny. And I think one of the things that makes them funny is that it's like the king has no clothes. It's like these workers at DHS take this job and they have these rogue little mean, cruel personalities, and they do all this stuff. And year after year, you're still there. All right? And they don't get it. And it's like they become the Scrooges with the twisted faces, thinking that somehow there's going to be a time when they get a bag of candy for having screwed over people's children and families, And I get emails, I get messages from these women in Portland, from Springfield, from different places in the States telling, they're doing this same little chicken shit, cruel crap to me. I'm struggling to have enough income. I'm struggling to have some housing to live. I'm trying to keep my life on a straight path, and they accused me of things that never happened, and they used it for a way to take my baby away at the hospital when it was born and give it to someone. And then later come back and say, yeah, if you have another kid, we're taking that lady. I know numerous women that told me that these childless or mostly childless bitches at DHS just get their rocks off telling young mothers that have kids, I'm going to take those kids. Yeah. There's a special place in hell for you people. And I hope you live a long time, because the anticipation, you have more time to think about what that's going to be like if you don't change your ways. If you don't realize how cruel and evil you are just to get money for the state of Oregon. All right? So you show me the Bellas aren't interested, the kids to be with their parents on a holiday. It's never happened. Okay? You don't do community visits. Okay? You don't set up visits between the siblings who can't always be there at 1 hour on Wednesdays. You make no effort to maintain and strengthen those relationships. Just think about the optics of it. and you tell me if I'm wrong. And you let all the people that watch these videos think about whether you're wrong or not. Nothing's done in a vacuum, you know? Think about it. You know, as I look at these cases that come through the paper, and I think of all the things that DHS, Steve Walls, the court, all the DHS workers, how they've twisted and concealed and lied and all the things they've done. You know, I can remember when Aubrey Havikos got sworn in, you know, she had to go up on the stand. She'll sit back there at the table, she would, and say all kinds of things to the judge, you know. But then when she got called to the stand and had to, you know, raise her right hand, all that, she got really careful what she said. And I remember that. And I think there's a lot of civil liberties, civil rights stuff involved in this case, civil rights of children, civil rights of parents that have been violated by DHS, Dallas, Oregon. So, if you're a lawyer who has an interest in civil rights cases, and you're better than a warm bucket of piss, and you know how to really get on something to represent a client and communicate, and you think this is sort of interesting, there's like 10,000 pages of documentation. There's all kinds of things in this. And if you're interested to take on a civil rights case against DHS Oregon, and you think you can cut it, that you have what it takes to get a job done, then contact me. I think we got a bunch of kids that are like, we want payback on what DHS did to our family. And there's 6 of us. And you just go down the line, you look at what's being done to these little kids, that's 8 of us, okay? So it all goes back to why Judge Hill didn't want to see the photos, not the least bit of curiosity, when my one daughter said, why do you believe this person but not us? Well, I've already made a decision about that. Oh, well, the photo says that's right there. That's what it was. That's what happened. There's the photo. It's timestamped. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. That's what the judge said. I don't care about things like that. I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm just going to say this and I'm just going to say that. And I'm going to make it up as I go along. All right? And we won't be talking about, you know, the Brady exculpatory stuff. Yes. That won't go along with the narrative to make money off of all these children for the Polk County Courthouse, for all the people working in Polk County that make their money being parasites of this shit. Anyway, if you would think you're worth more than a bucket of piss as a lawyer, and you find this story interesting and the civil rights violations that are involved, well, you can always look me up.